I am going to show you how to make $10,000 in your first payout in prop firms just with this simple 3-step strategy. I was able to make $10,000 within 2 weeks. Now, yes, I have been trading for 7 to 8 years and I have barely, and I mean barely, been profitable. But with this strategy and the way I have tweaked it and what I look for in the market, I have found the way to make $10,000 in 2 weeks. So if you want to be that guy, stay tuned to the video. I am just like everyone else. I have been trying to do this for 7 to 8 years and I have finally found profitability. Sorry. Guys, it took me so long. I've been waiting for the day that I make this video for you guys because I just wanted you guys to learn. I wanted you guys to not be in my shoes wasting 7 to 8 years of your life trying to figure this out. I want to just give you guys a blueprint. That way you guys can turn it into one of your own. Make the strategy your own. Put your own confluences. Make it work the way it needs to work for you. That way you guys can make 10,000, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever it is. So it can finally change your lives, because trust me, it will, guys. When you see that $10,000 hit your bank account, oh my God, it feels like a dream. It really does. Because some people, some of us, a lot of us go to work on a 9 to 5 and get that $500 check a week, $1,000 a check a week, which is good. I'm not saying it's not, because I've been there. I've done that for these 7, 8 years that I've been doing this trading thing for. Right? But whenever $10,000 hits your bank account in a week or in 2 weeks, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna spend the rest of my time trying to learn this. But if you guys are money hungry, if you guys like success, if you guys are tired of failing in trading, please watch this video, because you will get a gem or two for your trading career. So let's get to it, guys. It is 3 steps only. Now, there are steps within those steps that I will get to, but if you guys watch till the end of the video, I do have an extra confluence that I feel like nobody has ever done. And this is a supply and demand strategy, guys. It is a 3-step supply and demand strategy. And if you guys can do this, get consistent with it, do risk management the way it needs to be done, and control you guys' emotions, I promise you guys will see big checks coming your way. So let's get to it. Let's get to these charts, and I will show you guys these 3 steps that you got to do to finally hit profitability. Okay, guys, this is a chart I made for you guys to simplify the 3-step strategy. So I'm going to go through every single one of these steps. That way you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But I am going to go step by step throughout the video, explaining every single one of these. That way it's simpler for you guys. Okay, so number 1. Identify where the market is going. The market does not go any other way. It goes up, it goes sideways, or it goes down, right? Now, with that, according to the chart, number 1, what I look for, are we in a higher time frame supply and demand, right? That's what goes with the number 1 step. So are we in a higher time frame supply and demand? The reason I say this, these are questions that I ask myself while in step number 1, right? Are we in a higher time frame supply and demand? Because that will highly increase the chances that price will reject off of that higher time frame supply and demand and go, the other way. Now, number 2, are we hitting a support or resistance on the higher time frame? Support or resistance are very important rejection points in the market. So those are also things that we got to point out while looking for a setup on the 5-minute. Yes, sometimes higher time frame doesn't matter just because we are, entering off the 5-minute. But I say the 1 hour, the 4 hour max is what you're looking for. I basically do it off the 1 hour, but I still look at the 4 hour in case there's, a higher time frame supply and demand or support or resistance, only if it's getting close to it. But then you can go down to the 1 hour and kind of just simplify it from 4 to 1 to 15 to 1 to 5. Sorry. So number 3, did London make a trend line creating liquidity for New York to take? What I mean by that, let me say it again. Did London make a trend line creating liquidity for New York to take? And obviously when I say London and New York, I mean the sessions, right? Depending on your time frame. But my New York time frame is 7 a.m. to then on Central Time, right? So What I mean by this, let me go through the step number 1 in detail with you guys. What I mean by this, are we in a higher time frame, supply and demand? I have this setup right here that I took. This was a while back. This was about Tuesday, February 4, 2025. This was at exactly 10 a.m., right? The setup happened at 8 a.m., but nothing was there until about 10 a.m. So what I mean by this is there a higher time frame, supply and demand? We can go back to the 4-hour and check. Our setup is right here, right? Nothing here. All we do see is a break of the trend line, a break of a clear trend line that had broke clearly hours ago, right? But we were still on that trend up. Now, we check that. We go to the 1 hour to check it as well. Same thing, broke off that trend line. So we're already in a bias position to go to the upside, right? It was making higher highs, and it clearly made a trend here, made a higher high. It was making another trend. So either one way or the other during this trend, it was going to come back down or break that trend and eventually make a new higher high, right? So we were already biased that we were going up. Now, obviously, we do got to be careful that it'll come back, but our bias is upside, 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 upside. Now, on the 5-minute, we're already to the upside, right? So clearly here we have a trend line break. Now, if we go back, let's say here, right? When we were here, we were already looking at this break, but we're not going to take it because we're not breakout traders. Sometimes we will do breakout trades when there's absolutely nothing else going on in the market. When there's no setup at all, then we'll look for some confluences to take a breakout trade, right? Because we got to make our money anyway. So we were looking at this. We were looking at this. Now, number 3. Did London make a trend line? I know I'm skipping number 2, but I just want to go to number 3 just because it's very clear the way it is right now. Number 3, did London make a trend line? Did London make a trend line creating liquidity for New York to take? Now, we are in New York session here. This black right here is all London session, right? And the reason I say trend line is because it did make a trend line. Now, this, guys, is all liquidity. Liquidity to take all of these. And something I noticed that you guys can go and back test, but something I noticed right off the bat when I was back testing is when London makes a trend line and we are absolutely going up, when we are in an uptrend and it makes a downtrend in London session, most likely when price wants to make a higher high, price will come and fill in all this area up to here to create that higher high, right? Which we can also look for opportunities for demands to take all the way to this price up here, right? Which I ended up doing in this setup. Now, all this liquidity was taken. That's what price was doing. Now, it is going to make pullbacks, obviously, but we still have our bias to the upside, right? That is what I mean by step number 3. All this liquidity right here, liquidity, all the way up here, right? Like I made up there. All this liquidity, all this was going to be taken, right? Now, we just zoomed up there, but we weren't up here. And I knew that we were going to make a new higher high considering previous prices, right? But look, exactly on this one, created them, we took them all out, right? Consolidation, made that trend line, and we're going to take this out too. That was my overall take on this trade specifically, right? That is what I mean by number 3. Now, obviously, number 2, are we hitting a support or resistance on higher time frame? That we can check, but clearly what we saw on the 4-hour was we weren't hitting no support. The only support that we're close to is obviously this, this high off this trend line, right? The next higher high that we were trying to break. Now, so we got rid of step number 1. We got rid of step number 2. We got rid of step number 3. We identified where the market is going. We were overall just biased to the upside. Number 2 to this 3-step strategy, what are we looking for in a setup? So this is where all the confluences come into play. But first and foremost, we have to have some type of demand, right? So we're up. We have the bias that we're going up. Here's a demand here. There's a demand there. Now, all we're waiting for is just a patient game, right? Now, before price gets here or makes another demand, even if it doesn't get here, right? We can always look for the confluences of whether it's going to be a good trade. Now, what do I look for? Number 2, we go to the number 2 box that leads to the number 2 step, right? Gap above setup if demand, or vice versa. What I mean, gap above setup. There has to be a gap. There has to be a gap above the setup that we're taking. Clearly, here, the gap is from here to where price is now, right? We're not saying we're going to take this, but that's what we have, right? So it's looking good. Now, if you guys don't know much about gaps, I'll make a video on it later. I'll make a video on all the details later when it comes to break of structure, 200 EMA, gaps, the liquidity, everything like that. But I'm just assuming that you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So, number 2, is there a break of structure? Now, obviously we did break structure here, right? This is the break of structure here. We came down, but ultimately we broke that trend line and we broke structure here. So now we have another bias to go to the upside, right? That's if we're taking this one. But we're waiting. Let me just get to the one that I eventually like too. So here, this was another demand, which I had drawn this one and I had drawn this one. Because price could either choose this one or this one. Market's going to do whatever it wants to do, right? It wanted to come down, but it left a gap either way. Right? So there's the gap. The gap is right here. Now, obviously, now we're waiting for a break of structure, which price never came down. It just went up. There's the break of structure, right? There's the break of structure. Now, number 3, is there previous liquidity to grab? Like I said before, guys, the liquidity to grab is all the way, all this. We did grab it. So this is why I was a little iffy. Now, we would like price to obviously be more down here because then we could eventually just make our price, make price go over there. The reason I like this, trade was because I knew we were going to make a higher high. And price never broke it, So I knew price was going to do another higher high. That is why I trusted this trade more than anything, right? Now, is there support or resistance to the left of price that can make price touch and reject setup? What I mean by this, guys, is this blue line. This blue line has always been there. This is support. Reason I say it, because we have 1, we have 2, we have 3 instances where price was getting rejected, right? So it's support. And the reason I say this, guys, is because I have back tested many of these setups, and a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, have a support or resistance to the left of price that makes price get rejected, that makes price reject on the setup. It's so weird, but I found it. Not all of them. I'm not going to lie. A lot of them win without it. But a lot of them win with it, which can be another confluence for you guys to put and just to see and give you that extra boost to take it, right? Which it did. It gave me that extra confidence because I was like, okay, if it rejects off of this and leaves and doesn't close down here, I'm good. I'm taking that all day, every day. You know what I mean? Now, number 5, 200 EMA must be below setup if demand is there, or vice versa. If it's a supply, it's going to be above. If it's a demand, it's going to be below price, right? Below the setup, which it was. Let's keep going. $200 EMA below the setup. This was just, everything was working out. There was a break of structure. I knew price was going to make an overall higher high, right? Which I was confident even after it had broken this high. I was confident it was going to keep going just because how price was before, right? There was a chance of reversal, but when isn't there a chance of reversal? You know what I mean? So I was just going with this just because everything was going my way. 200 EMA was below. We had the break of structure. That it was going towards liquidity. We had broken that trend. So I was confident that we were going to go higher high. The support was there. And then the way the support acted to price, the way price acted to support, look at this. Look at this rejection off of this support. It doesn't get any better than that. Now, step number 3. What is our stop loss? Now, guys, this is where it gets good. This is where it gets juicy. This is where we start making our money. We only enter off the break of the candle. Obviously, you guys know why. Because price could keep coming down. The break of the candle is the for sure that price wants to keep going that way, right? So we got the ultimate rejection here. And we got price breaking here. So this is where we enter. Now, our stop loss just depends. This is on gold, by the way. So you guys can go all the way up here, but it's just a big stop loss. So 7 is already huge. You know what I mean? So I would do at least like a 6.5. 6.5. We go to 101. Yes, we do 101, guys. Now, sometimes we will leave runners. Sometimes we will leave runners just because it looks so good. But anyways, we go to 101. We would have hit our profit target. Everything was going our way. Like I said, the 200 EMA, the support, the way the price rejected. I knew that we were going to do a new higher high. The liquidity, it was going towards liquidity. We broke the trend. Everything was just going our way. So I liked the way this looked, right? Now, so we went there. We waited till price broke previous candle, right? So we waited. That's where we enter. Now, some people do enter over here, and that's okay. But I just don't trust it because price could play around here before coming down, right? So we enter off break of the candle, and we go. We see what we do, and the rest is pretty much history. So price hits our 101. Everything just worked out the way we expected. We went through our chart. We went through everything we needed to make sure that we were confident enough to take this trade. Now, guys, this is exactly what I did. I know it seems like a lot, but once you get the hang of it, you start looking at these just naturally. You know, you start looking at these naturally, and you got a whole bunch of time before it comes back to the setup that you're looking for. So within that time, you can always come and look at all these other confluences, look at the higher time frame, look if there's a trend, look if there's liquidity, where you're going, where price is going, where price could go. Think all these things before, you know, we go to step number 3, which is what is our stop loss, what is our profit target, when do we enter once our setup gets hit. So this is something you guys can just take and learn, guys. I promise you it works. I promise. One guy I do got a shout out is Doyo Exchange. He has just shown me how to do the supply and demand, how to perfect supply and demand. And if you don't see a supplier demand setup, then you can always go to other little strategies like liquidity grabs. You can do a breakout. You know, they work, but I only recommend them to do when there is absolutely no supply and demand setup, right? Stick to your strategy, stick to your plan, and I promise you, you guys will get the payouts that you always wanted. Come back to this video, comment on the video when you guys have gotten your first $10,000 payout, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 payout. I love seeing you guys win. If you guys are getting the payout that you want, if you guys are getting the life that you want, then and I feel like I have something to do with it, then that is going to be the ultimate blessing and feeling for me. So yeah, guys, this was just a little video of what I do every morning from 7 a.m. to about 11 a.m. I don't pass 11 a.m. just because price can get a little tricky around there. If there's no setup, don't forget to accept it, guys. Market is always going to be there. Do not worry if there's no setup. There's always another day to trade. But I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys got a gem or two. I don't know if I explained this video all my best, but these are my first couple videos, and I am trying to better my talking, trying to better my explanation, but hopefully you guys can understand me in a way that can help you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. I will be making a lot more of these videos. If this helps you, I am extremely blessed to help you guys. Let's grow. Let's be a team. Let's do whatever we got to do to help each other. And let's get this outro going, boys. I appreciate y'all. WW video. Like I said, and I will always say it again, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you guys go check out my previous videos. There is nothing but gems there. I am trying my best to give you guys the ultimate sauce to when it comes to trading. So let's do it again, and I will see you guys on the next one.